time for Nerdgasm.
Hey, what's up, Nerdgasm fans? Jerry here, aka Barnacules. Now, you guys have been sending me a lot of emails and messages on my social networks asking me questions about drones and quadcopters. Now, the most common question that I seem to get from you guys is, what is a good entry-level, inexpensive drone that you can purchase that you can practice on and build up your confidence level? Because let's be honest, nobody wants to go out and spend $1,000 on a really nice camera drone and then just fly the damn thing into the side of a building because they panic. Guys, I've seen it happen and it sucks. So the truth is, guys, there are a lot of options for you. And one of those such options I have right here. Copter Shop sent me over this little guy. Yeah, it's a tiny little box. It's the Proto X nano-sized, ready-to-fly quadcopter. Now, don't let the size fool you. What's important about this guy is it shares the same flight characteristics as the big boys, like the Phantom 2 and the upcoming Phantom 3. So if you can learn to master this guy, those are no sweat.
But seriously, guys, you're not going to want to crash the big one.
So I got a question. Does it count as an unboxing video if I already took it out of the box? All right, so a couple of things come in the box, guys. First, you get this little remote control, and this thing is tiny. You can see it fit in my hands. It's an itty-bitty little guy, but that actually is kind of good because you can just throw it in your pocket and take it with you anywhere, along with this guy, too, which is really, really nice. And the thumbsticks on it actually feel really, really nice. They're very, very smooth. They kind of feel like an Xbox 360 controller, but quite a bit stiffer, which honestly I like because this thing reacts crazy fast to the inputs on this. So you want to be able to do micro movements, and the stiffer the stick is, the easier that is to do.
I said stiffer the stick.
Ladies.
But you can see the drone itself is even tiny by comparison to the remote control. Now here, I'll give you guys an idea. Here's a DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus V3 right here. This is the monster. It's not even really that big. I'm gonna go ahead and set it next to there so that you guys can get a little size comparison. Now, when I opened the box, it came with a couple of things. First and foremost, I should probably say it came with instructions. And the instructions are actually pretty good, and they come in a couple different languages. These ones I couldn't read, so they're not English. And the instructions actually tell you with illustrations which thumbstick does what with the aircraft. So like this guy, up and down is throttle, left and right is rotation. This one is left and right and forward and backwards. So it's very, very straightforward looking at the controls. And the cool thing about it is these are standard controls for an aircraft of this type. For example, here I have the controller for my DJI Phantom that obviously needs some tightening up. But you can see here you have throttle, so that's no throttle. You have throttle all the way, you have rotation left, rotation right, and you also have left, right, up and down. And these all control the aircraft in the exact same way that this does. It also has instructions for how to put the batteries in, which does require you to take a screw out, but I kind of like that because you don't ever want the batteries to accidentally fall out while you're flying. So in this case, the screw is justified.
But seriously, it does make me feel like I'm a child.
Also, another important thing to note before you throw these directions away is that the blades do have to be placed on here properly. They go in a certain order, and if you look very, very closely at the blade, you can see a little letter on it, like an A and a B. And it's not by color, it's actually by blade. So there's two grays, and one's an A and one's a B, which is kind of confusing. But you have to make sure the letter on the blade lines up with the letter that's on the little circuit board next to the motor, because if you don't do that, this thing just wigs out and flips out and you're not going to get anywhere. Now, the box came with a couple of extra things, one of them being a USB charging cable. Now, it didn't come with a wall adapter, so you're going to need to plug this into a laptop or a computer to charge, or I found that it worked best when I used my Vivis battery bank. If you have one of those USB battery banks, you can just plug it into that, and honestly, I've charged this thing probably 20 times now since I've had it, and I haven't even drained the battery pack down one dot. So this thing, you could theoretically run this thing probably for weeks off of one charge on this pack, which is cool if you're traveling. Now, it also comes with a set of replacement blades, 2 grays and 2 blacks. Now, remarkably, I've flown this thing a ton. I've wrecked it probably 100 times in the various things, including my face and maybe my cat.
It was an accident.
And somehow I've always managed to find the blades, but they are very difficult to find, especially if you have like a gray carpet or a dark carpet, because these things literally just become invisible. All right, well, I think it's time to fire this thing up and do some flying. So all you do is on the bottom of the aircraft, there's a little on-off switch. You just go ahead and hit that and it'll start up, and you'll see that there's some LEDs blinking back and forth, the little blue guys right here, and that indicates that it's ready to sync to the controller. So once you've turned that on, you just flip the controller to the on position. Now the interesting thing I noticed is you actually switch it to the on position from going from right to left instead of left to right, which seems traditional for all electronics I've owned. Now in order to finish the sync, you have to move the throttle to the bottom of the controller. And now we are ready to fly. Now all you do is throttle it up a little bit. You see it coming up, kind of going into a little bit of a hover there. And I already hit myself. Notice it didn't chop me into pieces. Oh, look. Not gonna lie, it stings a little, but it's not tearing me up. If I bump this thing into me... Ouch. Hey, look, one of the blades already flew off. All right, let's pop it back on there. They literally just pop on. Also, make sure that it's spinning free before you take off again, because sometimes if you push the blade on too hard, it'll contact the housing on the motor, and it'll drain the battery a lot faster, and it will not fly quite right. So just make sure all the blades are spinning nice, and you're good to go. Fly, my pretty, fly! Fly! It's actually quite easy to fly, and it does all the same maneuvers as a real quadcopter. You know, you can rotate it around.
Learn to fly, Barnacules!
Now also the controller has some trim controls. So if you notice when you take off, you notice it's kind of going back and to the side. So I can counter that by giving it a little click there and a couple clicks forward. And now you can see it's much more stable. It's tending to go forward a little bit now. So I'm gonna do one click back. Woo! She's getting crazy. She's getting crazy here, folks. Woo! But one of the things I think makes this a really good trainer is that it has all of the same controls as the Phantom. So if you pick up the Phantom controller and you're good at flying this, the Phantom is actually going to react a lot better because it has GPS lock, it has a better compass. All of those things are going to make it a more stable craft. So if you can master this and stay on top of it, you're going to be able to do some amazing things with the larger drones. All right, guys, what do you say we take this thing out and see where we can fly it? Didn't hurt. This thing flies awesome for being so small. And if you accidentally hit yourself, not a big deal. You guys can see when it has a severe impact, it actually just starts doing this rapid blink and shuts the motors down. So it doesn't hurt. It might sting a little if you hit yourself in the face or something like that, but it's not going to cut you open like the big guys. You can fly it in a 3D printer. Flies great in the bathroom. Sitting on the toilet, want to do a little quadcopter flying? It's perfect. Whee! Now guys, if it starts flashing, just turn it off and turn it back on. It always syncs right back up. Also guys, cats aren't afraid of this thing at all. Get it, Hannah. Get it. Okay, maybe they're a little afraid of it. You can even fly it in your car or truck. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can literally practice anywhere. Uh-oh. It's fine. This thing seriously survived like 1,000 wrecks so far. The blades do tend to get bent up a little bit, though, so you gotta bend them back. When you wear them out, you got an extra set. Just guys, don't try this while you're actually driving. Unless it's for a really funny YouTube video. To the camera! Oops. And if you get really good, you can even fly in your Bitcoin mine. It's hard with all this wind though. It's good practice. Whee! So much wind! Ah! And you guys can see the LEDs are super bright in the dark. So here I am in my bedroom. I'm gonna just launch it from my hand. Uh-oh, cat got scared and ran away. Look, it can even suction to the ceiling. You can drive it on the ceiling. Whee! Let's see if we can land it on the projector. Success! Now there's a tiny, tiny little breeze out here, but I think it'll be all right. Gotta trim it out a little. It's easier to trim when you're in a big wide open space. Battery's dead, time for a recharge. Okay, so as you guys can see, the thing is so small you can literally fly it anywhere. You can even fly it while you're just sitting in bed. And the cool thing about having the USB battery pack, which doesn't come with it by the way, but I will put a link to it in the video description, is you can plug it in and charge it sitting next to you in bed. You can plug it in and charge it while you're on a car trip. I don't really recommend flying this around the cab of a moving vehicle unless you have explicit permission from the bus driver.
Explicit permission.
Also, I talked about how durable this thing is. Let me just give you an example. So here's my big 46-inch screen here. We're just gonna pile it into it. Okay, we crashed. We lost one of the rotors. Now I'm not gonna spend a half an hour looking for it. It's probably over there somewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and just open up my little bag here. Just have to find a rotor with an A on it. Okay, the new rotor is on. And she is ready to fly again. Although now it has 3 gray rotors. I probably should have grabbed one of the black ones, but you can see it took that crash rather well. Another thing is, if it catches you at certain angles, it can sting a little bit, but I haven't got this thing to cause any real damage. Let me give you an example. I'm okay. Did it sting a little? Yep. But I'm no worse for wear. And whenever I get into a bad situation, I just cut throttle and let the thing drop. It explicitly says in the directions not to do that because you could break your aircraft. I'm guessing that's from like, you know, a very, very high altitude, but I've dropped this thing a ton of times and it's been fine. Here, let me fly it up. Fly it up the ceiling, drop. Fly it up the ceiling, fly it, drop. And it just keeps on ticking. Another cool thing is it's self-leveling. So you notice if I give it a little throttle and I tilt it forward, it stops those 2 props to pull itself back. It does that automatically. It's got like a little gyro on there that keeps it stabilized, and that makes it a lot easier to fly. But I would say as far as quadcopters go, this one's pretty safe. Now notice when you have a hard impact, it'll do this little back and forth flash. It'll shut the motors down just so it doesn't do any damage to itself or others. Just go ahead and turn it off, turn it back on. Same thing with the controller. And we're sunk back up, clearly indicated by the beep. Now, I did a flight time test on this thing where I charged it all the way up. And after fiddling with it and flying it around and doing lots of corrections and stuff like that, I got about 5 minutes out of it on a charge. And after the 5 minutes, it takes about 20 minutes to recharge, which actually isn't too bad. It takes about 4 times the flight time to recharge, which is pretty good. So other than not being able to fly it in the wind outside, this thing is actually pretty damn amazing and pretty maneuverable. I try to think about, like, back in the day, how expensive something like this would have been, like, 10 years ago. I mean, NASA probably would have paid $50,000 to make this, like, 10 years ago, to make something this small. Even if they could, it's just crazy to see how far technology has come. But guys, this thing is a lot of fun, and it's only $30, which is nice. So if you do find a way to destroy this thing by pissing off your cat and it bites it really hard, or your dog woofs it out of the air, you're probably not going to be too broken up if you lose it. Now, obviously, I can't say the same for my DJI Phantom. If I lost this, I'd be pretty broken up. Well, guys, if you want to get your hands on one of these yourselves, I have a link down in the video description to my Copter Shop page over there. It has all the products that I've reviewed, such as the DJI Phantom, the upcoming Inspire one, and this little guy right here, the Proto X. So just click on that link and head over there. It helps out the channel, and I guarantee you guys are going to enjoy this thing. It is a lot of fun. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed the video. This guy is a lot of fun. If you guys have any questions that I didn't answer, go ahead and leave them down below in the comments, or you can come over and follow me. I'm at Barnacules over on Twitter, and I'm actually really responsive on Twitter, so that's your best bet to ask the question over there. But this is actually a really good idea if you want to get into drones, you don't want to spend a lot of money, and you really want to hone your skills before you go and step up to something big. Now, would I go flying the Phantom around while I'm sitting on the toilet? Me, probably, but I'm not the most responsible person in the world. You should not. Would I fly that in my truck? Again, probably, but don't do that. It's not a good idea. This thing's safe. This thing can be dangerous, but if you're confident flying this, you're going to be uber confident flying this. All right, guys, take it easy, and until next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also come over to Twitter. I'm at Barnacules. I'm a real social guy. Also, if you have a couple of minutes, check out some of these many other videos. I made them myself.